Carlos Alcaraz leaned back into the plush leather of the executive suite, a room far removed from the clamor of the tennis courts he had dominated throughout the season. The tension in the room was palpable, a stark contrast to the roaring cheers and the vibrant atmosphere of his recent tournaments. Here, in the silence punctuated only by the soft hum of the air conditioning, Carlos faced the harsh reality of his career's first significant setback. 3 months ago, the tennis world was shaken when Carlos was handed a suspension following a positive doping test. The news came as a shock not only to fans and analysts but to Carlos himself, who had consistently maintained his innocence. The young Spaniard, known for his electrifying play and humble demeanor, found his character under scrutiny, his accomplishments tarnished by suspicion. Jannik Sinner, his friend and fiercest competitor on court, sat across from him. The Italian's face bore a look of concern that did little to mask his underlying fear. The scandal had not only isolated Carlos but also cast a shadow over those closest to him, including Jannik, who had spent countless hours training alongside the Spaniard. "I never took anything, Jannik," Carlos began, his voice firm yet weary from the countless times he defended himself in the past weeks. "You know the kind of person I am. I wouldn't risk everything we've worked for." Jannik nodded, his eyes locked on Carlos. "I believe you, Carlitos. But the media doesn't care about truth, only sensation. And right now, you're the biggest story out there." Carlos sighed, running a hand through his hair. The weight of the world seemed to press down on him, each headline another brick in the barrier between him and the sport he loved. "What am I supposed to do, Jannik? Sit back and let them destroy my reputation?" "That's exactly what you shouldn't do," Jannik replied, leaning forward. "Fight this. Clear your name. You owe it to yourself and to everyone who believes in you." The conversation shifted as they strategized Carlos's comeback. Legal appeals, public statements, and rigorous independent testing were all on the agenda. With each plan, Carlos felt a spark of the fighter spirit he wielded on the court. He wouldn't let this setback define him. He would prove his innocence and return stronger. Weeks turned into months, and the battle took its toll. Carlos spent his days in meetings with lawyers and his nights poring over medical reports and test results. The suspension barred him from official tournaments, but not from practicing, and he hit the courts with a vengeance, channeling his frustration into every swing. His relationship with the public was complicated. Every public appearance was met with mixed reactions. Some cheered, continuing to support him, while others looked on with suspicion. Social media was a battleground of opinions, where his every statement was dissected and discussed endlessly. Jannik stood by him through it all, often facing criticism himself for his unwavering support. But he never wavered. "We know the truth, Carlos. That's all that matters." Finally, the day came when the results of the independent tests were released. They were clean, showing no traces of illegal substances. Carlos's team presented these findings to the Tennis Federation, coupled with evidence of possible contamination in the original sample. The appeal was long and grueling, but in the end, the suspension was lifted. The news broke out like wildfire, a beacon of vindication. Carlos held a press conference, his first public appearance since the announcement of his suspension. Cameras flashed as he took the stage, his family and Jannik by his side. "Today is not just a victory for me, but for anyone who has faced accusations without merit," he said, his voice steady and strong. "I thank those who stood by me, who believed in my integrity when it was questioned." The crowd erupted in applause, some shouting words of encouragement. The relief on Carlos's face was evident, his smile genuine for the first time in months. He returned to the tour with a renewed sense of purpose. His first tournament back was a testament to his resilience. Match after match, he played with a ferocity and precision that left no doubt of his talent and hard work. When he finally lifted the trophy, his victory was more than just a win, it was a declaration. As the season progressed, Carlos reclaimed his spot at the top of the world rankings. His rivalry with Jan-Nick continued, each match a display of sportsmanship and intense competition. Off the court, their friendship deepened, bonded by the trials they had endured together. In the end, Carlos Alcaraz's story was one of triumph, a young man who faced the depths of adversity and emerged not just unscathed, but stronger. His name was cleared, his record stood proud, and the respect he earned from overcoming this challenge was a testament to his character, both as an athlete and as a person. In the aftermath of his vindication, Carlos Alcaraz's daily life took on a dual nature. On one hand, there was the relentless pursuit of excellence on the tennis courts, where he trained for hours, pushing his physical limits and refining his technique. His coaches noted a marked increase in his determination. Each session was approached with a meticulous focus, his mind as sharp as the swings of his racket. On the other hand, there was a newfound responsibility to his supporters and to young athletes who looked up to him. Carlos became more active in public speaking, often discussing the importance of integrity and resilience in sports. He started working with charities that focused on sports education for underprivileged children, aiming to give back to the community that had supported him through his ordeal. Jan-Nick Sinner, ever the friend and confidant, was often by his side during these events. Their friendship had evolved from mere camaraderie to a brotherhood forged in the fires of adversity. Together, they hosted clinics and workshops, sometimes even on the sidelines of tournaments, teaching young fans not just about tennis techniques but about dealing with pressure and setbacks. Their rivalry on the court became a highlight of the tennis season. Each match they played was charged with an electric intensity, drawing crowds and television viewers alike. Fans appreciated not just the high level of tennis but also the sportsmanship displayed by both athletes. After each game, win or lose, Carlos and Jan-Nick would meet at the net with a hug, a moment that symbolized the respect they had for each other's talents and characters. Meanwhile, Carlos's legal team continued to work in the background, delving deeper into the investigation of how the doping allegations had come about. They uncovered a series of errors in the handling of the samples and procedural lapses at the testing facility. This information was not just a clearing of Carlos's name but served as a critical review point for the sport's governing bodies to reassess and tighten their procedures. Media coverage of Carlos shifted gradually from the scandal to his comeback and his efforts off the court. Interviews and features often highlighted his growth as a person beyond his identity as an athlete. He spoke candidly about the emotional and psychological toll of the past months, how he coped with stress, and his strategies for maintaining mental health. Carlos also became a vocal advocate for fairness in the sport, pushing for reforms in the anti-doping processes to protect athletes from similar injustices. His voice, once just one of many in the bustling world of professional tennis, had now become influential, a beacon for change and integrity. As the months passed, Carlos's schedule remained a whirlwind of tournaments, training sessions, and public appearances. However, he managed to maintain a balance, often spending quiet evenings with family and friends. These moments away from the public eye were crucial, helping him to recharge and reflect on his journey. In all of this, the bond between Carlos and Jan-Nick remained a cornerstone of his stability. The Italian's light-hearted nature was a perfect counterbalance to Carlos's intensity, providing much-needed laughter and moments of levity during their travels. Their friendship highlighted a crucial narrative: even in the fiercely competitive world of sports, profound friendships could thrive, built on mutual respect and shared experiences. Carlos Alcaraz's story had transformed from one of potential downfall to an inspiring saga of redemption and resilience. Through his journey, he not only cleared his name but also enhanced his role as a mentor and leader within the sports community. His tale resonated not just with those who followed tennis but with anyone who faced obstacles in their paths. As the season progressed, Carlos Alcaraz's presence on the court became a symbol of integrity and determination. Every tournament he entered carried with it a narrative of his resilience, drawing not just tennis enthusiasts but also those intrigued by his story of overcoming adversity. His matches were more than mere contests, they were exhibitions of a man proving his worth, not just through his skills but through his spirit. The technical aspects of his game had also evolved. During his suspension, Carlos had worked tirelessly with his coach to refine his backhand, turning it from a reliable stroke into a formidable weapon. His serve, always powerful, became more varied, with subtle changes in spin and placement that confounded even the best returners in the game. This technical improvement was not just a response to his time away from competitive play but also an assertion of his control over his career's narrative, every match a chapter, every tournament a testament. Off the court, his approach to engagements with the media and public also matured. Carlos became more thoughtful in his responses, more measured in his words. He understood the power of his platform, using it to advocate not only for procedural justice in sports but also for broader issues like mental health awareness among athletes. His interviews often included discussions on how to handle pressure, the importance of psychological resilience, and the need for a support system, drawing from his own experiences. The sports community took notice. Young players spoke of Carlos as an inspiration, citing his perseverance and integrity as models for their own careers. Coaches and sports administrators discussed his case in conferences and seminars, using it as a study in athlete management and the importance of supportive environments. In the locker room, Carlos's relationship with other players also shifted. While there had initially been whispers and doubts, his steadfast approach and transparent actions won over many of his peers. Veterans of the sport extended their respect, while newcomers sought his advice, not just on tennis tactics but on navigating the complexities of a professional career under the public eye. His relationship with the fans was rejuvenated. Tennis forums and social media platforms buzzed with discussions about his latest matches, his comeback journey, and his off-court initiatives. Fan sites proliferated, some dedicated to tracking his career, others to discussing the broader implications of his advocacy for fair play and justice in sports. Carlos's personal life also found its way into the spotlight, though he managed to keep much of it private. Known for his close-knit family ties, he often shared glimpses of his home life, his training sessions with his younger siblings, and his leisure time, which often involved fishing or playing football with friends. These snippets provided a contrast to the high-stress world of professional tennis, showcasing his multifaceted personality and his roots, which kept him grounded. Through all this, Carlos's bond with Jannik Sinner provided a continuous subplot to the narrative. Their rivalry on the court was fierce, yet their friendship remained solid, a dynamic that fascinated the tennis world. They were often seen practicing together, sharing strategies, and even competing in doubles exhibitions for charity, demonstrating that their relationship transcended the competitive tensions of their profession. Carlos Alcaraz's story, enriched by these numerous layers, continued to captivate and inspire. It was a saga not just of a sportsman fighting against a wrongful accusation, but of a person growing in the face of challenges, shaped by adversity but not defined by it. Each match, each interview, each quiet moment away from the cameras added depth to his public persona, building a legacy that would resonate far beyond the boundaries of tennis courts.